All right, can everybody hear me? No? Kind of, sort of? All right, excellent. All right. Welcome, everybody. I am so happy that you're all here. This is a great turnout. I like to see that from a staff perspective. My name is Tom Eglin. I am the Deputy Director for Louisa County's Community Development Department, and you are here because you received this letter. We have 3 cases to discuss this evening. If you're an adjoining property owner, you received the letter or you found out about it from your neighbor or through social media. So we have a neighborhood meeting in this room every single month on the second Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. If we have cases, which we do tonight, we do have to leave the room at 6 o'clock because the Louisa County Water Authority needs it. But there could be conversations that continue among yourselves and others, and we will push out of this room either to the very front of the building outside or perhaps in the front entryway. And staff will stay here to answer any questions that we can to help you get the information that you need. So what is staff's role? Well, my job is to facilitate this meeting, and I take notes of the meeting, and I write them in a staff report that goes to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. My job is to make sure that you know how to participate, that you know who your elected and appointed official is, how you can get a copy of the application, and when meetings are being held. So if you want my card after the meeting, come see me. That's kind of where you're going to hear that a lot. Come see me after the meeting if you're not sure about how the process works. And so tonight we have an informal Q&A. We're going to try to get through the 2 cell phone towers first so we can spend the rest of the time with the Amazon data center. So as part of the informal Q&A, the applicants are going to give a brief presentation, and then we'll open up the floor for back and forth, and Deborah will come around with the microphone. Please do not hog the microphone. If you ask 3 questions, that means that somebody else may not get to ask a question tonight. So please be respectful of your fellow citizen. Process. So again, after this neighborhood meeting, there may be another neighborhood meeting, or it might go directly to the Planning Commission on July 10th, the second Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. in this room. So stay tuned with community development. If you're an adjoining property owner, you will get another letter. You'll get a letter certified this time if it goes to the July Planning Commission or any other Planning Commission for that fact. If there's a second neighborhood meeting, just where I'm going with that is you want to call community development. We'll give you the phone number. I know there's members of the media here. They'll probably do a good job of sharing the news of if there's another neighborhood meeting or if it's going to the Planning Commission in July. So neighborhood meeting, then you have your Planning Commission meeting and your Board of Supervisors meeting. So this is informal. The Planning Commission meeting, you will be given 3 minutes to come down to this podium and speak. My name is John Smith. I'm in the Mineral Voting District. I'm either for or against this. There's no back and forth. That you just make your statement and you sit back down for the next person. And it's the same process for the Board of Supervisors. Staff's report goes to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors makes the final vote. So again, neighborhood meeting today, Planning Commission meeting. Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, and that's when the final vote is made. So you will have 2 more opportunities to speak. If you're unable to make those meetings, you can write in a letter. We can get you your contact information. So again, come see me after the meeting if you have questions about the process and the procedure. So can I get a raise of hands? How many people are here for the Jewett Elementary cell phone tower for Verizon? We're off to a good start. All right. All right. So raise your hand if you're here for the Verizon cell phone tower at 522. Good. We sent 50 letters out, I think, for that. So, all right. Well, in that case, what we're going to do is we're probably going to switch right into the Amazon presentation. But after Amazon is done presenting for about 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to circle back and make sure nobody else has come for those other 2 cases. And if no one else has come for the tower cases, I'm going to let the applicant leave and go home. And we'll use the remainder of the 2 hours for the back and forth in the neighborhood meeting. Any questions before we get started? Yes. We are attempting to tape this meeting. You're more than welcome if you want to. All right. Excellent. And again, I will be here after the meeting. The meeting ends at 6 o'clock, and if you want to form a line, I'm happy to answer any questions and stay as long as needed. So I'm going to go ahead and boot up the PowerPoint, and then I'll have Amazon come on down and give a presentation. here, and just that way you can speak into the mic, and this is your clicker. So that advances and that goes back.
Oh, great, you can see there too.
Yep.
Follow everything. Yep, so just let me know as you're going through and I'll time with you.
Yes, we can. Sorry. I was expecting us to go last.
All good.
Okay, we can start with some introductions.
Perfect. All right. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm Logan Brunette. I am one of the land use attorneys on behalf of Amazon. With me today, I have Stephanie and I have Elizabeth, and I will allow them to introduce themselves. But at the end of this meeting, so sort of like Tom said, if you have any questions, please find me at the end. I have business cards, and I'm more than happy to continue conversations.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Moman. I'm with Amazon. I'm actually in the real estate and land development division. So I will preface, if anyone asks like really technical questions tonight, I may have to defer that, but I'm happy to answer any other questions you have about the development. Elizabeth?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Hummel, and I am with Hirschler, and I am representing the applicant tonight.
With that, we'll do the introduction to Amazon.
Okay, all right. So we only have 5 minutes to present, so I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. But please, said there's time for questions at the end. So here's the information just about Amazon. We are headquartered in Virginia, and we made if you guys are well enough, may be aware, we made a big commitment to Virginia and our investment to Virginia. And part of that is also, here it is, yeah. So it's a $35 billion investment throughout the entire Commonwealth. And it's generating at least 1,000 direct jobs by the year 2040. And this is a slide I want to focus on. This is specific to Louisa County. Right now, we have an $11 billion investment throughout the county. And what that really means directly to you is for every data center building that is constructed, there's at least 30 direct jobs. And those jobs are typically very, very well high-paying jobs, and also 30 direct jobs, and then high-paying and highly technical jobs. But also along with that, there are a large number of indirect jobs: support, landscapers, food service. So we do, and that's for one data center building. Okay. So a little bit about what data centers are. I'm sure you guys know a lot about them, but they are warehouse type buildings. But inside them, they're housed with a lot of servers. Those servers provide the support for all kinds of other industries. You can see here, there's government, it's Netflix, it's just about anything, it's photos. So it's anything that's stored in the cloud is represented in the data centers. Okay.
And then again, I'm Logan Burnett here on behalf of applicant. Why are we here tonight? Well, specifically on June 2nd, we made an application to the county, and those applications were for a conditional use permit to allow for the development of the data center campus with utility major service facilities as well as accessory uses. We also had applications for special exception permits to allow for certain access points into the facility, and then a waiver of certain technology overlay district or TOD standards for the perimeter buffering and setbacks for a small portion of the property, and that's adjacent to tax map parcel 4275A. And as well, we also had an application for a Virginia 15.22232 review for the extension of public utilities, new public utility connections, and the conformance with the comprehensive plan. Key information about these application materials is that the application affects about 11 parcels. Those are 4223, 4284, 4283, 4282, 4286, 4293, 4281, 5873, 583, 5816, 5817, and that is a little over or a little under 1,400 acres. The application is proposing up to 7.2 million square feet of data center facilities with 7 electrical substations and accessory uses. The property itself is located primarily within the TOD, that Technology Overlay District, and it's within the Mineral Voting District off of Route 22, and it's to the north of Route 33 and Northeast Creek Reservoir. The project will have about 20 to 30 employees for every 250,000 square feet of data center space. Again, we're proposing up to 7.2 million square feet. Data centers generate extensive local taxes and generate an estimated $4 to $5 million per average annual local tax revenues for every 250,000 square feet of data center space. So that means that this project could generate up to $115.2 million per year for the county. Do you have a jump in?
Yeah, and we use the 250,000 because that's an average size for one data center. So that's why we use that metric.
And here we have what we submitted to the county as the illustrative plan for this property. You'll note that at least 64% of the property will be maintained as open space, and that equates to about 189 acres of the property. All required buffers will range from 200 to 300 feet around the property. And our goal is to maintain the existing tree and vegetation cover to provide that buffer. Again, there's nothing better than mature vegetation, so that's the goal. You'll also note that from the closest residence, it's about 850 feet from the nearest data center building. Okay. Out once we get to the Q&A.
That's right down here.
Yep.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And something else I wanted to mention, so just so you guys have your bearings, 22 is to the north, 33 is to the south, School Bus Road is to the west, and then Kennon Road is to the east. The large blue areas don't represent the buildings, they represent the impervious area. So we have a building, but then there's parking, there's roads around it. So this is merely to represent where the impervious areas are going. And then you can see the stormwater management ponds, and I do want to call out the stormwater management ponds that we have just upstream, just north of the reservoir. Yeah, that's a light blue. Yeah, and then the yellow is the substation, and then the blue is the buildings and roads.
And then getting a little bit closer into the buffer and landscape plan, like I said, the buffer and landscape will, at the perimeter, range from 200 to 300 feet, again, with the nearest home, the gentleman in the front, being 850 feet away. We have a little bit of a depiction of what the existing buffer looks like today. Again, our goal is to keep that buffer in place due to the good mature stand out there.
Yeah, so this is from the north, and the proposed development actually doesn't get anywhere close to Route 22, but this shot here was taken from.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but there's several people out in the hallway that can't hear anything that's going on in here.
We have some seats. We have some seats in here. Can we pause for a second? We have plenty of seats if people would like to come in here and sit down. So, come on in, don't be shy. There's lots of people in the hall. We have plenty of seats in here.
One here, have one here.
Come on in, we have more seats.
Can't really hear my window voice.
Yeah.
Y'all going to be a few more minutes? Just asking. Because I might-
We're running to our last slides.
All right, is there anybody else out there? We have more seats.
We have two up front.
I want everybody to come on in who wants to sit. Okay, all right, sorry, all right. While I'm up here, can you all hear me if I keep it out? All right, good. So some of you may have come after the introduction. If you are concerned about the process, next steps, contact information, copy of the application, please come see me after the meeting. Okay, I will stay here till after the meeting as long as it takes to answer any questions that you may have. While we're here, has anybody showed up for the Jewett Verizon Tower? We have one person in the back, okay. So we were going to knock that out first. Okay. Is anybody here for the tower off of 522? Sir, if I can ask you a question, would you like to talk to the applicant directly outside of the room, or? Okay. Stuart, do you mind? And Lori and Renee, can you go out there too? And we'll have a little mini neighborhood meeting outside of the room, if that's okay with you, sir. Is there anybody here for any of the other cell phone towers? Okay. All right. If you want to, Renee, if you want to grab our conference room, that's probably a good idea too. Or come. All right, go around. Lori, Stuart, if you can go that way towards community development. And thank you, sir, for helping us out. Excellent. All right, the good news is we have the full 2 hours for Q&A. So I'm going to, is there anybody else outside who wants to come in? All right, I'm going to let Amazon wrap up the presentation, and then we will start handing the mic out. And I will remind everybody, please do not hog the microphone. If you ask 3 questions, that means that someone else is not going to get an opportunity to ask a question. Please try not to ask repetitive questions, and please remain civil. I will remind you if it starts to go downhill. So, all right, I'll turn it back over to Amazon.
Also have another perspective from School Bus Road, again, showing the existing stand that we intend to preserve to the maximum extent. And then finally, we wanted to quickly touch on any impacts to Northeast Creek Reservoir. This is something that we have been thinking about and why we're incorporating such a level of stormwater management ponds adjacent to the reservoir. It's to collect that runoff. We're also planning on hiring a third-party consultant to review the erosion and sediment control plans for each phase to identify design gaps and to allow for implementation of additional erosion and sediment control measures to protect the reservoir. These enhanced reviews will supplement the VDEQ requirements and ensure stricter control measures are applied to this project. With that, we're happy to answer questions and turn the microphone over to Tom to start passing around.
All right, everybody. I'm going to have Deborah come down. She's going to be in charge of the microphone. So we'll pass the microphone around, ask the question into the mic, and then we'll get the applicants to respond. We'll just keep doing that until 6 o'clock. Or until we run out of questions.
In no particular order.
Hi, I'm actually not adjacent to this directly, but I'm adjacent to the other data center that's across the road. My concern is the amount of water that is required to cool these systems. We all have wells, and my concern is what is going to be the impact to the water tables, and how do you plan on, this particular one I read is 660,000 gallons a day. So how are you going to get the water to cool the facilities, not only this one, but the other two as well? And how will it impact our water table and the water that we currently, wonderful water that we currently enjoy today?
We still have some seats in the front here, so I understand there's still people in the hallway want to come in, so please come on in so that you can hear. Come on in. Don't be shy. Thank you.
Let her answer first.
Sure.
Oh, and I'm Pam Dutile.
Yes, and I forgot, please identify yourself so that way we know who asked what question. Come on in. Anybody else in the hall? I still see people in the hallway. You all must like to stand up. All right. Good deal.
Wonderful. Thank you for your question. We do have to work with the county's water service authority to identify the water that we are permitted to use. This project is planning to use an evaporative cooling system to help with the water usage. But again, we will be working with the county on those measures.
Okay, and what does that exactly mean?
Yeah, so I will say, the technology does change all the time, and I even need like a refresher course every now and then to keep up with it. For this campus in particular, we're actually going to implement something newer, which is the rainwater harvesting. So these data center buildings primarily need the water for cooling in June, July, August. I mean, those are the hottest months. So the other times of the year, they really don't need a lot, and they use the outside, the outside air to cool. So in the off season, we will be harvesting. What we're planning on doing here is harvesting a lot of rainwater. Now, what that means is we're going to have to build storage tanks next to a lot of these data centers, but that will also help reduce the amount of public water or reuse water or in this case, it's raw water that has to be utilized.
Okay, and just in addition to that question, are y'all going to have any active wells on the property,
No, not at this time.
on any of your data centers?
I think initially at the Lake Anna, there's an active well, but that's not a long-term solution.
One question.
Ma'am, I just want to tell you this, and for everybody here, I talked to Andy Wade today. Please feel free to talk to him. He's got a lot of information about this. But what he told me was this, because I asked the same question. He said that this particular data center, I'll speak loud, uses 679,000 gallons per day. I can't hear you if you're talking out there. Thank you. The three of them together use about 1.5 million gallons per day. But he said that 1 foot of the reservoir, measured at the what they call safe yield, is 60 million gallons. And so 1 inch is 5 million gallons. So if you're talking about using 1.5 million gallons per day on all three facilities, it's going to be less than 1 inch from the water. That's what he told me.
Per day.
Per day. Less than 1 inch.
1 moment. Thank you for your
One at a time, everybody. One at a time.
Hello, my name is David Rogers. I live on Chopping Road, 2032 Chopping Road. I'm a candidate for the Board of Supervisors Mineral District. And I have, thank you. I have several concerns. like the lady said about the water, but now we're putting the cart before the horse. What about the electricity? Our power grid is not able to sustain what all three of these data centers are going to require. So you're going to suffer more blackouts and brownouts. You're already told, oh, try to do your washing at certain times of night. Well, that's one concern right there, the noise. There's been surveys done about the noise and the effect on the brain this humming noise can have on the brain. I challenge you to look it up. The traffic. When you try to get into Louisa when school is in, it's almost impossible. You're backed up from Louisa all the way to Mineral. So what is this going to do for our traffic? It's going to be terrible. And then the amount of space that it takes. Now, I've heard here several times, this is our goal, this is our goal. Well, in a perfect world, we meet our goals. But this is not a perfect world. And when you don't meet the goals, we the people suffer.
Do you want me to can I address? Yes. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, thank you. And I just want to say that if this doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for us. So we want this to work, and this is our attempt. We're only required to maintain 20% open space. We have, I think, 64% open space. We were really cognizant about not maxing out the development here. So we approach this because we want this to work for you also. So let me just start there. The electricity, anytime we start a project, Dominion or Rappahannock is 5 years out, probably. So, and they will bring in the infrastructure, and that's what the substations are for. And they upgrade, we do give them the funds to upgrade their infrastructure as it pertains to these sites. You also said about the noise. We are, in most places, I think we are below the requirement because of the distances that we have for this facility. The traffic, so we try to, and a lot of the data centers, there's only 2 ways in and 2 ways out. This site was large enough where we could disperse the traffic primarily during construction, because I think you all know that once these are up and operating, there's very little traffic that's actually generated from these. During construction, we have one to the north. North, they're numbered there, number 1, 2, 3, and 4, to try and help disperse the traffic. And I think that was it. Space, okay.
And one quick note about specifically the power grid. I'm sure a lot of us understand that just because we're putting substations here does not mean that someone putting a substation in Spotsylvania County or Caroline won't have the same drain on the grid. We share power not only with this locality, but our region. Going from Georgia to Pennsylvania, we share power along the eastern coast. And so, like Stephanie said, the infrastructure is actively being upgraded. The power to serve this site would likely be about 5+ years out. But the benefit here is that the electricity would be brought here, the tax revenue would be brought here, rather than going to a different county, different state.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Shalina Rogers. I'm the daughter of David Rogers. I have served in the military and recently retired. I lived in Northern Virginia, where some of these data centers are, and my recommendation is not to bring that here. I came here for peace and quiet. I suffer from multiple concussions, and now I have a disability that retired me from the military. I do not want the sounds of humming from your data centers in this town. I know I'm just one person, but I would suggest we do not bring this here. I am writing as a resident that chose to come here, and although it's open land, cleaner air, and a sense of peace that comes from being surrounded by nature rather than cement, and like many here, I understand the need for progress and progression and economic opportunity, but this is not it. Raise your hand if you are an IT professional. It's really going to benefit you all, and it's not many of us here, but it will bring more traffic, and traffic that is not always the best traffic. Proposing to bring data centers to our area may promise jobs and tax revenue. However, we must also consider the hidden costs, particularly the environmental toll, such as facilities that will take on this rural community. Data centers are massive consumers of electricity and water. Globally, they account for 2% of electrical demand, and figures expected to rise shortly with the growth of AI and cloud computing. These facilities often require millions of gallons of water annually for cooling and constrain the local water supplies, which can also hurt us during dry season. In some cases, a single data center can use as much water and power as a small town. They also generate significant noise pollution. Again, I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to hear a constant buzzing when I suffer from tinnitus. And instead of technology bringing here, we can grow different ways. People want to get away from that city life, the noise. We can use that, grow from that. We don't need data centers. Again, I am coming from Alexandria, Northern Virginia, Maryland area, trying to get away from this. 11 years I have spent in Alexandria and the DMV area, and I'm trying to get away from all of that expansion. Don't bring that to Mineral. Don't bring that to Louisa.
You're talking this data center. 2 have already been approved.
Yeah.
So my question is, what is the combined noise level of all 3?
Exactly. And it's a lot of noise up there in Northern Virginia. It's going to be a constant buzz. I know because I live near those. But again, and I'm going to be short with you all right now, and this is going to be the end. But imagine waking up in the morning and realizing a quiet hum of country life has been replaced by a low, constant thrum of industrial fans. The stars you used to see above on your porch are going to be washed away with floodlights guarding a fenced-in compound that never sleeps. The well water you trusted for generations now sharing supply with a facility that consumes millions of gallons a year just to keep the machinery cool. And in the place of open fields and tree lines, rows of gray boxes just humming with data from faraway cities and foreign corporations. This isn't someone else's problem. This is happening in Loudoun County. And they are going on about this and the power strain and the warnings of growing blackouts and tension between the developers and the community. So again, I've lived it. I'm retired military. I lived up there for 11 years. I hated it, and now I'm back here in a rural, quiet area with my family, and that's why I love Mineral so much. My grandmother was here. My whole family was here, from Thurston's, Kings, and now Rogers. We've been here for a long time, and I respect this land. So, and you mentioned rainwater harvesting is limited by local climate. In areas with inconsistent rainfall, you can't always depend on rainfall for a supply. So that's kind of here and there. What if we have a drought? Okay, and even with recycled water, evaporation happens.
It's been
Okay,
over 3 minutes.
I'm going to conclude this, but I really want y'all to consider this and really think about this. All right, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Terry Zamsky, and I'm the 850-foot guy in that little inset. So I've got a lot of questions. Now, current noise levels, I've got a dB meter on my phone that I've used sitting there on my deck in the back of the house, facing where the data centers would be. Right now, on average, it's like 50 dB. I would like the noise levels to be maintained at that. whether you need to build a sound wall, more trees, a further buffer, and I also don't want to see it. You can build the wall, paint it a earth tone, plant shrubbery, trees in front of it to mask it, and then the lighting, since I'm right there, I'd like everything to be dark sky compliant, all down lighting. And then the biggest issue is I have a bored well. It's only 50 feet deep. And at the northwest corner of my property, right in this area, there's like a wetland area. It's very swampy. And my well sits on like a knoll, and that wetland area would be at like the bottom of where my well sits. So if there's a lot of excavation or anything, I'm afraid it would take the water table away from my bored well. So what would you do to me to compensate me for my well?
I'll go ahead. So we do not go below grade. The data centers are built on grade, so we're not going down. So that's one way it would help. I wasn't sure. Do you have another?
Oh, yeah. Lots of questions.
Okay.
Would you all like to speak? I'm just going to try to start in the front and go in the back. I'll just start and then.
And I think current code does also require dark sky compliant. It has to be practically zero at the property line. Sorry. I'm sorry.
That was my major concern, basically, right at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it, I don't want to hear it.
Has
I
to be,
don't want to see light.
dark sky compliant is already part of the code. And at the property line, the foot candles, it has to be almost zero.
Yeah, but the decibels, like I said, like 50 decibels average at the back of my house right now. What are you going to do to try to keep that?
Well, I do know that we either meet or exceed the sound stays. This is not fully designed yet, but we can certainly work to achieve that.
I'd like to remind everybody, please, this is a Q&A. If this is not an opportunity to give like a presentation, so like please try to limit your questions to like one or two. I'm sure we can get around to everybody maybe more than once, but if you hog the mic for about 5 or 10 questions, it doesn't allow everybody to get their question in. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Robbie Britt, and I live in the Mineral District right on Kennon Road, and the little area where I'd be about 800 feet from it. I want to know, in the past, with the experience in like Loudoun County, how does it affect the property value of your home? I mean, have the homes been going down in value where these data centers have been built?
I can't answer that. And I think there's a lot of variables to that, but I can get back to you. Yeah.
I can answer that. My son lives by one, and all their property values doubled.
Just for a moment, if you'd like to speak.
Yeah, I have a son who lives near one in Alexandria. All their property values doubled.
Hello, my name is Brent Whitlock. My big concern is I've already received a letter from my rural electric co-op telling me that they're going to increase my power bill $7 to $15 because of these data centers. Continued expenses and being taxed is not fair to us. And we need to have some type of way that the power state, these facilities, do not drain our power, because that is costing us money. And, our taxes go up, expenses in life go up, and electricity goes up, and pretty soon it's going to put us right on out of this area because of the cost of electricity. Thank you.
On his question, I see on here there is an energy-generating facility listed on here. Now, would that be like a small nuke or something different?
Small nuke, no.
Well, that's what they're putting up at North Anna to supply those. So.
They're going to charge us this extra money for electricity, no matter what.
Hi, my name is Elena Whitlock, and as a young person, I look at this and I don't feel like, as a young person, this has anything beneficial for the future. And I just have to know, I mean, for young people, what does it benefit? What does it do for us? I mean, 2040, I mean, it just doesn't feel like this is for our community. It feels like we're being sold out.
Pat Ranney, I live in Mineral, and I'm near the North Anna power plant where the campus is in process. I'm trying to understand why we need another one that close. This is number 3. We've got 1 in process. Where is number 2? Do you have to have them every 5 miles like Dollar General? Is that your plan?
What would you like to know about the 3 locations?
Can you speak to where the 3 locations are at Cook Point?
Yeah, there's one at Lake Anna. There is a property just south of this one, on south of Route 33, and then this is the 3rd.
I believe the second one's on Shannon County.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good evening.
From Mount Airy to 33. Both roads, 2,800 acres.
Okay, so I have a question. So the gentleman, I didn't catch your name, was asking about the electrical bills going up. My name is Victoria Lockhart. I have a friend who lives near a data center. Her electrical bill went up in increments 3 times in the last 3 years. So I'm wondering, why are we paying the electrical bill if you want the data centers? Why don't the shareholders picking up the tab? We didn't ask for it.
The data center directly is not directly causing those increases. That is something that would have to be taken up with your cooperative. We're happy to continue conversations with them. Again, we are supplementing and paying for those infrastructure improvements that we specifically are causing. But we are happy to continue conversations with the cooperatives. We encourage you to reach out to your cooperatives. It's one of those things where development's coming. It's not just data center development that's coming. It's additional residents that are coming, additional commercial, and again, we share our power grid, and so those increases, they may not be caused by something that's happening in Louisa County.
What is the lifespan of the? My name's Tom Varanish. We live on just off Kentucky Springs Road near the Lake Anna site. And what's the lifespan of these buildings, and what's the construction timeline on this latest one?
The buildings, or just like anything, the buildings will last pretty much in perpetuity. It's the infrastructure inside that ends up getting switched out, and that also that's really what generates a lot of the local tax revenue. But the buildings will, the first data center buildings were built over 20 years ago in Northern Virginia. They're still there. Now the internal systems have been changed out, but we expect the buildings to be there. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
Yeah, what's the completion schedule for this particular project? Because everything I'm seeing is 20, 30, 40 years down the road, and that's not going to have any benefit or very minimal benefit to anybody in this room.
So I do know that the Lake Anna property is going to be online first. Something like this, it's large. It will be built in phases, and initially we're proposing like 4 phases for this. And again, that's just to spread out the work, to spread out the traffic, and to also spread out any disruption. I don't have a good. It really depends on how it's phased and how construction plans on building this. So I can't specify an exact timeline of how long it would take. Probably, each phase takes 2 years. So that's a very, very, very rough estimate. Very rough estimate.
Hi, my name's Roy Waters, and it's about the water. I don't know what report y'all were given, but we've been in drought the last 2 years. So if there's all this excess yield, I suggest Amazon does their own study, because I don't know how we can be in drought and have enough money. Enough even with stormwater. Another is, I think our county's banking on a lot of revenue from these servers, from how they're going to be taxed inside. Can you guarantee us that they won't be taxed exempt? That they will be taxable, like all your BPPs are going to be taxable inside, and that y'all aren't going to designate them as like banking or federal? Because our county's banking on all this revenue. So that's one question, and I'll stop there.
I can't, again, I'm in land development. I can't dictate who's going to be occupying it, but I can get some information on that. I'll write down.
Hi, my name is Mary Loudon, and I live real close to Terry up there, where his little box is. And when I built my home out there in the early 80s, there were 2 houses on that road, on Kennon Road. Now it's a lot of houses on Kennon Road. My question is, why do you have to put a facility like that in a residential-based area? There are a lot of people that live there and like the country. We didn't sign on for industry in our backyards.
I certainly understand the sentiment of not wanting the change. However, I do want to remind the group here today that your board did look at this area and did recommend this area as compatible for this type of use.
Question to the board and to the people selling it is, would they want that in their backyards? Would they want their property to be listening to the buzz all night long and taking up their water? That's my concern. I love my home. My son, my grandchildren live near me, and I love my home. But I don't love what's going to happen if you guys move in.
I would certainly love to connect to make sure that we're addressing.
That's the problem.
Excuse me. It's taking time away from the next person speaking. Thank you.
Do connect with me after the meeting. I would like to connect to make sure that we're appropriately addressing any concerns that you're having.
Hi, my name's Jade Lorenzo. I live on West Old Mountain Road, and my big concern is water. Last summer, we had a drought. We were on water restrictions. So how do we go from having a drought, being on water restrictions, to having enough water for a project like this? It just seems like there's no way this can work water-wise.
If you'd like to, yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were going to move on. Yeah. Again, it's a technical question. I'm not fully able to answer, but I know that we are introducing the rainwater harvesting, which really hasn't been done before. I know the other campus to the south will be served by raw water, so it's not potable water. And, well, again, yeah, it's not potable. No, I don't, honestly, I will get back to you on that. I will find out the source for it, but I know that the other property is served by raw water.
Yes, my name is Brett Funkhauser. My question is, every data center I've seen has hundreds of diesel generators, trailer diesel generators hooked up to them. How many will be hooked up here, and what is the noise level of them?
So I will let Stephanie speak to the number of diesel generators. I will say that the project will be in accordance to the county code, which does not permit the project to go above 65 dBA during the day, 60 at night. Like Stephanie was saying, we do typically beat that with enclosures and things like that to really muffle those noises, such that typically they're no louder than you running your vacuum at the property line.
Ma'am, if you don't mind just letting her finish and then standing up with your name. All right.
Yeah. So let me, one thing at a time. So I just want to go back, and the reason why Logan made that statement is because we actually put them in sound enclosures. So I totally know how loud one of those, Caterpillar generators are, but we build sound enclosures for them and house them in it. They're like mini trailers. Going back to the quantity, it depends on how large the building is. So I can't quote an exact quantity until we know how large the buildings will be. Yeah.
What is the combined noise level for the
Mhm. And I can, yeah, and sorry. Yeah. Okay, and I know that when our, okay, yep. I know that whenever we did the sound modeling for this, they actually took into consideration the other data center to the south. They weren't required, but they went ahead and did that and made sure that even with the two running, it did not exceed the required decibels.
Who makes those required to see?
That is within the county's code and your noise ordinance. You can find that online, and again, either Tom or if you wanted to connect with me, I can send you links to that.
Hi there. My name's Kate McGuire. I live off of West Mountain Road. Thank you for speaking. Thanks to my fellow Louisans for asking such great questions. I share many of your concerns. I'm looking for two hard numbers today, please. One of them, how many lumens of light are y'all planning on this data center putting out at nighttime? Second number, Amazon has great lawyers, great tax accountants. There have been some years when Amazon has paid an actual negative corporate tax rate. In the presentation, you said that this would bring extensive local taxes to the area. Will any of those taxes be paid by Amazon? Can you put a dollar number on it? And will you be seeking tax exemptions to avoid paying taxes into the local area? Thank you very much.
At this stage right now, we are at a very high level with a concept plan. So the lumens will have to meet county code at least, and that will be determined at our site plan if we were to be approved. And as for the local taxes, we did work with an independent third party, and they estimated that the annual gross tax revenue to the county would be $115.2 million, and that's from Mangum Economics.
Overall,
that would be paid by and generated by the project.
And when does that start?
That would be upon operation.
Yeah, so if the first building goes up in 5 years, obviously you're not realizing that full amount, but as the other buildings come online, more rarely realized.
My name's Andrew Dennison. I'm a resident on West Old Mountain Road as well. So I guess the two most pressing questions I have is, if this is the first iteration of rainwater collection that's actually being used on a data center, how do we know it's going to work? I know a lot of people have mentioned we're in drought season. I'm part of one of the local fire departments. We even have issues ourselves with actually being able to use the water supplies in Louisa and Mineral due to drought conditions. So with that being said, is there a plan to actually assist the county with its local infrastructure when this data center is put in? So upgrading Town of Louisa or Town of Minerals water infrastructure, or even expanding the basin?
So I believe that some of those upgrades are actually already ongoing with the other data center that's just to the south of here. But I hear your question about the rainwater. I can't really speak to entirely how it works, but I've taken the question and happy to connect with you afterwards. I can get you the answer.
Okay, thank you.
And I will note, we do have a full water team that will run this by.
How y'all doing? I'm Jared Davis. I live off Bibb Store. My two questions are, you said you're generating around 170 jobs. Is that per building, or is this the entire site? I couldn't remember on the presentation. Per building, you have to have active staff on 24/7, if correctly. And then the wildlife as well. 200 acres of wetlands, hardwoods, and pines. Have you assessed the wildlife that's going to be affected by this? Because it's going to come into other people's neighborhoods and it's going to go elsewhere. So.
And so, again, we did work with that third-party consultant for the economic impact to Louisa County. They did estimate 30 jobs directly per 250,000 square feet of the data center buildings. Again, this project is anticipating to create 7.2 million square feet. So again, 30 times. Doing the math there, it is a high number of good-paying tech jobs there. Also during construction, that's going to bring in jobs to support the construction of these buildings. As for the impact to wildlife, I do want to remind the group here that we are going to be preserving about 64% of the total property as open space, and that's 889 acres of space.
I don't have the mic, but real quick, it's going to be fenced in, right?
So, yeah, they do. See ya.
That does nothing for the wildlife. Come on now.
Hi there, my name is Pat Goodikins. I live on Chalk Level Road. My name is Pat Goodikins. I live on Chalk Level Road, right across from School Bus Road. These projects are going to take 2 to 4 years per data center, correct?
Saying per phase.
Per building.
Per phase, not.
Per phase. Okay, so I've got truck traffic coming up and down my road 24 hours a day now on a road that was built for horse and buggies. And I'm on a S-turn that's blind, 5 accidents over a 20-year period, and now I'm going to have construction vehicles coming up and down the road all hours of the day and night. How are you going to address that with the county?
So we did write into the application that we would, before the site plan, I think it's before site plan approval, we would work on, and there will be multiple site plans.
My understanding from the county is I'm looking at about 125 construction vehicles per day now, projects.
I can't speak to the number, but we did offer to do construction mitigation plans prior to the phases. And we also wrote in there that we would take into consideration the school hours and then obviously the traffic that's existing on 22. That was really the method, our thoughts behind creating the multiple access points so we could disperse the traffic.
Hi, I'm Karen Knight. I live on Daniel Road, and I appreciate you all being here to listen to the concerns of the county. With a lot of your presentation and a lot of your answers, I'm hearing a lot of estimate. We're considering, even with the zoning, we're mostly in the technology district. So I'd like a little more clarification of how much is in the technology district, how much is going outside, because again, you are looking at taking an agricultural parcel and turning it into industrial. Again, with your rain collection for cooling the data center, you're collecting it, so that's going to take it away from the water lines underneath and the veins that are feeding all the neighboring wells. So what's your study on that? Also, in the presentation, you have two conflicting slides. You have a slide that says 30 employees per data center, but yet you're telling us it's 30 per so many square feet. So there's a lot of conflicting information that's not very clear. And I also want to know if you've done a geographical study to see if there are any fault lines near these centers, because we have had earthquakes here and we could have impact to that. And the consideration for the school traffic, I can tell you that I travel Kentucky Springs Road and Haley Drive, and the traffic is horrible. So I think you're banking on an infrastructure that's not there. So in a lot of instances, I really think that, you know, you're giving the big numbers of the taxpayer, what we're getting in taxes, but we're not talking about the infrastructure that's needed before any of this even starts and the impact that that infrastructure will have.
We talk about the data center, when we're talking about the jobs that are created, it's per data center, but it's also per square foot. And as I said, the 250,000 square foot is a metric that Mangum, a third party, utilized as a baseline. Our data centers tend to be around that same square footage.
So here we go again
Yeah.
with the around. And then the other thing I forgot to ask, you did say about upgrading the grid. When you have a grid, there's also priority given to certain things. So your hospitals have priority. So where does the data center fall? And with that priority in the grid, how is that going to affect the homeowners?
The reason why I can't speak to the exact square footage is because we're still very preliminary. I did want to address, you had asked about the earthquakes. We are aware that there are mines in this area. Those were flagged by a consultant of ours, and they were investigated further. And in this site in particular, they didn't prove to be anything of concern, but they were looked at.
I live on Shannon Hill Road in White Walnut, and we had a 528 in 2011, and the fault line ran through my back of my court steel, which is right next to data center across the street. So you are on the fault line with that gas. I'm sorry, I had to speak up.
Hi, I'm Sean Baines. I live over on Chalk Level Road, right next to Pat. I can attest the construction traffic will be a really big deal on Chalk Level Road specifically. But, you know, it's interesting because we talk about all these estimates, and at the end of the day, you know, the estimates are always wrong in these scenarios when it comes to cooling towers, when it comes to potable water usage. So you say raw water, that is raw water that we would be turning into potable water to be using in the county. So this really is for suggestions for the planners up there, is for you guys to realize that if you're going to agree to this project, you need to force them to have water feasibility studies done every single year and have punitive damages for when they deplete water resources, because I can guarantee you they're going to deplete water resources. Whether they want to admit it or not. We're talking that in the year of 2022, Google used 5.6 billion gallons of water, and Meta used 1.29 billion gallons of water in 2022. Amazon's not going to be any different. The water resources are going to be depleted. We don't have enough water as it is right now. So part of that comes down to you need to force them to use specialized cooling processes. There needs to be a minimum of an evaporative hybrid chilled water system. They must use dry cooling. Why wouldn't they want to use dry cooling? Because it costs more money for them. But then it's also going to cause, when they use dry cooling along with closed loop systems, then it's also going to cause the resources to be increased for needing of the electrical power grid. So somehow or another, there needs to be a generation factor here on their own campus, and that's going to be a noise pollution issue. So everywhere you go, you step into issues. So the planning board needs to step in, and I have no doubt that this project's going to move forward. I also have no doubt that it's going to cause major impact on all the farmers around here, which I'm one of them. So it's going to hurt the farms. It's going to hurt the water resources of the farms. In addition to that, livestock, they don't like a hum all the time, right? And so for the planning board, you guys need to hear that there's a headline that's coming, and that's that if you don't handle this the right way, then you sold out Louisa County citizens for decimation of our water resources. So that's what you have to hear. And I know a lot about this subject, so if you want to talk to me, I'd love to talk to you, but you need to force some very specific guidelines that they have to meet. And I'm not talking about normal standards of the county board system. I'm saying you need to force a specific code for the data centers, and that also needs to include punitive damages and different millage rates for them, because I can promise you they're going to deplete our resources.
Say I highly respect the agricultural around here. I grew up on a working dairy farm. I know you scoffed at me, but it is near and dear to my heart. I was just back at my parents' farm this weekend in Pennsylvania. I know how important it is. No, but they're in the fracking area of Pennsylvania, and they have methane wells.
I'm getting to everyone. I see your hands. We're just going around the room. Thank you.
My name is Donna Stewart. I live off of Waldrop Church Road, and I just want to say when the Dominion Solar project went in over there, construction traffic was complete hell, and very little oversight. So I don't really feel like, spreading it out over the two ends of the property are going to really address the problem for people who live there. But also, I just want to say, we already have 2 data centers that are going to come online, and it seems to me the prudent thing would be to get those up and running and see how it impacts the community and our resources before we add more. It just seems reckless to me.
My name's Elaine Taylor, and I'm down at the other end of the county, but very concerned about what's happening here. Primarily, I share the concern about water. I don't know if the county has required a third party to do a hydrology study. The gentleman that was just speaking knows a lot more than I do, but I know that the fissures that feed all of our wells here are different than they are, say, out in the Midwest. And we're not talking We're just talking about your surface water. You're talking about drawing it out of the reservoir. I'd like to see a hydrology study. My bigger concern is this is all happening before the Planning Commission and before the Board of Supervisors knows what to do with this. They're just now revising the 2040 comprehensive plan. So much has happened. We are way behind on their understanding of what needs to happen. I hope they're taking the counsel of people like the gentleman who just spoke. There's wisdom in the county if they will listen to us. But I don't know how to even get their ear. But I'm very concerned. It will go through, and I will pay later for it. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
Hi, my name is William Hale. I live on East Old Mountain Road. And first I want to thank the Planning Department and Tom for putting this on, and these regular town meetings are a wonderful idea and a great advance. I think I'm a little bit like the Lorax. Instead of the trees, though, I speak for the roads. I'm always popping up. Those of you who come to I can see Dwayne flinch over there already. But we all know that the first real effect on a community of growth is on the traffic. And it's the thing we all experience. It's our social experience is changed completely by traffic. It's really bad during construction, of course. I'm with the Route 605 Corridor Association. We're seeing a lot of change already. Whichever way you count it, it's either the third or fourth major project that has been proposed, 3 of whom have been approved, that really didn't take into account any traffic planning. And with no public input. Thank you. That's a general given, but let's change that pattern. I see that the board and the planning department are trying to change that pattern. I'm hopeful that we won't make such a foolish move as to put in such a thing as this. Folks, it doesn't make any sense to build without trying to plan for the traffic. And all these other reasons are very good reasons not to rush forward with a hastily conceived idea. I certainly hope that we won't. What my question is, and I'm sorry to take so long to get to that, can you show us your traffic, what you expect the traffic demands to be and where you expect that to be, what the traffic counts would be like? Thank you.
I'm coming back around.
I can say that we also wrote into the application that we would do a traffic impact study, and that's not done by us, it's done by a third party. It's reviewed by VDOT. They come back and make comments on it, and based on the traffic that's generated, they will tell us what improvements actually have to be made.
Yes. Yes.
So are you saying that you don't know? You haven't made any, you're asking for this without it? Is that what you're saying?
That transportation impact analysis, it's underway now. And so it will be done before we even get to Planning Commission. And so we will know the true level of improvement to mitigate our impacts. If you want some data, this is actually one thing that I do have some data on. When the data center is up and operational, it's 0.75 trips per 1,000 square feet. I should have multiplied it out, so I apologize. I'll do that here in a second. And just compared to an industrial park has over 3 trips per 1,000 square feet. A single-family home generates over 9 trips per dwelling. So this is not my data. This is public information. So when it is fully built out, it does have one of the lowest trip generations of any use.
Is that 0.75 per day, per hour, per week?
They break it out by per 1,000 square feet. That's just how they.
Over what span of time?
So, well, I guess it's in any given day.
In a day, okay,
Yep.
thank you very much.
But it doesn't address construction.
It does not address construction.
I will say our transportation impact analysis, it is not just reviewed by VDOT. We have a pre-scoping meeting with VDOT and the county. So they identify those intersections that are known points that we may impact. The third-party consultants, they run their studies, they run their it's called synchro files. It shows basically the artificial traffic moving through the corridor, so we can actually see the improvements. And those are determined. Those files are something that we can provide to you all. If you would like to see them, again, contact me. I'd be happy to share our transportation impact analysis so that you can learn a little bit more about the project and what our plan and our mitigation will be.
My name's Overton McGee. Once the buildings are up and running, if they accidentally exceed the county noise ordinance, how would the county enforce it, and how would the company dampen that noise?
I don't know if you wanted to speak to how you would enforce a noise violation, but that would be enforced by, I believe, your department.
So our department would send a code enforcement officer out there. Actually, the noise ordinance, I'll back that up, is regulated by the sheriff's department. So the sheriff's department would send a deputy out there, the noise meter, and if a violation was found, the sheriff's department would continue on their investigation. It might also be a violation of the conditional use permit, which means that the applicant could be called up to the podium to resolve that, and their conditional use permit could be at risk for the operation of the facility.
And I do want to say that we do always want to try and get better at this. Obviously, any data center, not just us, any data center that was built even 5 years ago isn't as good as the ones that are being built today. We do work to get them quieter, use less energy, all the time. It's obviously ever evolving. The ones, I'm sure that there are lots of data centers in Northern Virginia that are not as quiet as the ones here today. To answer the second part of your question about mitigation, we have, if there are issues, I'm sure that there are certain mitigation measures that could be in place. There's sound walls, additional insulation, so that's on a case-by-case basis.
My name is Rebecca Claxton, and I live on Kennon Road. Kennon Road is probably, a mile and a half at the most. There are hairpin turns. The majority of Kennon Road is 15 miles an hour. There are vulnerable individuals that live on Kennon Road. Many new houses that young families have bought are built 75 feet from the road. Their children wait for school buses there. My question is, why Kennon Road?
So I think, obviously we were trying to disperse the traffic, and that was the nemesis there.
That only be traffic for small vehicles because those hairpin turns, tractor trailers aren't going to navigate those very easily.
It's something that we'd be working with the county, and once we get in there and we see the turns and things like that, that would be in our construction mitigation plan. So let's say that it's not conducive to sending larger trucks down that road. We would have specific construction paths that would take account for those areas where we know the school children are waiting, or that we know that the turns are too tight for a construction truck or larger truck to go down. That will all be handled prior to any site plan approval. Again, once we have more information, we're at a very general stage. Like I said, we just submitted our first iteration on June 2nd. Your planning staff is going through and they're reviewing, and they'll provide additional comments and considerations for us. You're providing additional considerations for us, so we appreciate everybody again coming out tonight.
My name is Brent Whitlock, and basically you said before that there's 64% of that land is going to be open, and of that, right now it's cut over land. So you got a lot of stumps, a lot of brush, a lot of briars, a lot of material. What are you going to do with that material that you have to clean up? Are you going to burn it, or are you going to take it to the dump, or what are you going to do with that? Because if you burn it, that's an environmental hazard. You put a lot of smoke in the air. If you take it to the dump, that's a lot of traffic on the highways. What's your plan?
A lot of that depends on the subcontractor, but we are not going to be burning on site. So it depends on where that subcontractor, where they're hauling to.
Would you mind passing that to her? Thank you.
Sure. Hi, my name is Victoria Lockhart, and the question I have is, why do I feel so perplexed? There are only 7, 10, 12, I don't know how many supervisors we have, and this is the third project that is just going through, pretty much. People are very reluctant to believe that our opinions matter, and there are more than a dozen of us here. Not a single person said we want this in our backyard, and yet my friend who has a database, they had 2,200 letters against it. One supervisor voted against, 6 voted for it. They didn't get to have a say. Why would we? We have less than 2,000 people here. Why do you think we're going to have a say?
I do want to, again, I think everybody's comments tonight are very valuable, and again, we are at our concepts plan stage, so we do want to hear your concerns. We do want to hear how to make this project better. I think,
What are the magic words that you use with the 7 people that you haven't been able to use on us, that you use in real life?
so I don't think that it's any magic words. I think it's a collaborative process. Again, I'm more than happy to give you one of my business cards if you'd like to call, chat about the project. I'm happy to continue conversations, but I think we want to be a good neighbor, and that's why we're here tonight, making sure that we're taking that step to hear your concerns and make sure that we're going to make this project the best package for your board to consider.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time. I know it can't be easy to stand up there and hear us all going, but my name is Phil Perkins. I live on the Davis Highway side. I'm on Shortman's Road, the road you're proposing to use as your construction passway. Don't know if you've been there, don't know if you've seen it, but Shortman's Road is this narrow gravel road. And I heard the other gentleman talk about Chalk Level Road and all the construction equipment. That's not going to bode well there. I'm curious as to why you can't just do the extension you're proposing. If you're going to do this, do the extension for Chopping Road instead of coming down Shortman's with all this heavy construction equipment, because that road is not designed to carry all that, not to mention the homes that are down there, and again, the noise level that this is going to incur for the people that live there. And I know we have, we're not going to start before a certain time and all this, but I just wonder why Shortman's Road, when you can barely get 2 cars by each other on that road. No, I know you're right. We know that, don't we? Thank you.
Great voice for radio. Love it. So thank you. So, do you want to talk, and I'll point over here about the alternate road. So, we understand about Shortman's. I don't know if you could. I know. See, if you see, it might be kind of hard, and my pointer doesn't work on the LCD screen, but there is another proposed access, but it's.
Right, but I'm saying in your proposal it says that this proposes to use Shortman's for the initial construction to access the parcels from 22. I understand. I know you're talking about doing something from across between the high school and us where it's at, but your proposal is talking about the initial construction coming down Shortman's Road.
Right, and that's because we haven't yet worked through the approval for that secondary access. Ma'am, I saw you were asking where it was. So.
Yeah, it's, I can't read. It's that, see, the black is Shortman, and then and it's kind of in between the school property and
the residential.
So if you need it. No, you're fine. I just.
And again, I'm sorry to follow. The residents there, actually, we maintain the road, like the gravel, all that stuff. And how's that going to impact us as far as, trying to keep this thing maintained with heavy equipment running up and down that road? Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. If you don't mind, just stating your name, please.
Hello, my name is Thomasine Rogers, and I live on Chopping Road. So when you said Chopping Road, I'm like,
the cross where I'm talking about.
yeah, but if they're coming down Chopping Road, that road was never designed for tractor trailer traffic. I sat on my porch one evening and I counted tractor trailers, and that's not where they're supposed to go. They were working on the road that's where Dickinson's store used to be, and that was supposed to be the store, the road where the tractor trailers were supposed to come. And while they were working on that, they routed it down Chopping Road, and as a result, Chopping Road, with the swerves and the curls and the swerves and the curls, we've had trucks flip over in our front yard, and we've had motorcycles running off the road because it's not designed for that. So I empathize with what you're talking about, and Chopping Road is not an example, another source. It's just not wide enough, and that's going to be the biggest problem, is getting the roads wide enough. There isn't enough space to even open up the roads, and during school time, as someone already mentioned, the bus traffic is so congesting that you can't even get through. From Mineral to Louisa, it's like congested. There's not a stoplight at Chopping Road and Davis Highway 22, so you've got another problem there. And I'm not really sold with VDOT planning things very well, because they don't do a good job with doing that kind of stuff. We had petitions to get the tractor trailers off of Chopping Road, but they're still coming down there. So I'm gonna have to take measures another way, because VDOT is impotent when it comes to doing things like that. So I don't trust their things. And the other thing is, I'm also very concerned with the information that the Board of Supervisors gets. I don't think they do a lot of their research, because none of this stuff should have gotten to this point. They should have denied it after they had 2. I'm just saying. And I agree with that lady back there when she said that, yes, if you got the 2 that you already have, but we don't need to do a 3rd one until we see how this is going to work out and how the money's going to flow, because the money sure isn't flowing to keep my taxes down, because they have increased by 6.7%. And we in the Board of Supervisors end up changing residential to commercial, back to residential, and it's not helping anybody, because I see how they have done things. So if this is agricultural land, well, then we need to keep it agricultural.
That was my wife, and she has a tendency to read my mind. But a few years ago, and Mr. Adams can verify this, I came in front of the Board of Supervisors. I was concerned about Chopping Road, Chalk Level Road, and I think the Shannon Hill Road, the truck traffic. Went around and around and around with VDOT. VDOT came up with 2 criteria. One, we could meet. The roads were too small. The other one, and I want you to just sit down and listen to this for a minute. The other one was there wasn't enough tragic accidents. I'm talking about people dying. Now, why can't we be proactive instead of reactive? We gotta wait for somebody to die before somebody will do something? That is crazy. That is crazy. So VDOT is not on my good list. But you're not on my good list either. And you will never be, because it's going to be more truck traffic. And those roads are too curvy, they're too small.
I don't want to hear them trucks at night. I'm sorry, that's my tendinitis.
Just 1 second. Has anyone that hasn't spoke or asked a question like to? Just 1 second.
She's delivering the mic. This area, it is in the TOD, and there's currently a solar development plan for it. So, which actually has a lot less open space than what this development has. I just want to mention that.
Hi. So my name is Jay Davis. I live in Louisa County. I want to thank you ladies for being here. I know this is hard for everyone to have this conversation. I have a concern, and I'm going to address the folks in the back of the room first. So where does this fit into the economic plan, growth in the county? I haven't really seen or heard how this fits in with that process. And I see a whole lot of empty chairs back there, but no one has that I could address or have a question or could answer a question. So maybe there one person that's sitting back there could talk about the development plan, the economic plan, and how this fits into that plan. But then the question for the data center folks, you ladies in front of this group, data centers have gone up all over the East Coast. You've already said that. We already know they're all over Northern Virginia. Henrico right now is voting on number 6 or number 7 in Henrico County right now. They have an industrial area that they've already identified. So when they allow or they vote on something, they already know what the data centers that are going to go in are going to do, how big they are, how big they'll let them be, and what they're going to get out of it. This is not the first data center that's been built. So it's really confusing to me why you don't have hard and fast numbers on all the stuff that everybody's asking you. Truck traffic, construction. I mean, this simple stuff here, you made a proposal. So I'd like to have some really hard and fast numbers from you guys if you're making a proposal. For example, if I wanted to build a house on my farm today, and I wanted to submit that house plan, I can't submit a proposal, I have to submit a plan. And I can't say I'm going to build a one-story, and I might build a two-story, and I might build a garage, but I might not build a garage. That doesn't work for the county. So how is it that you can stand here with a proposal and might have a certain amount of truck traffic? You're giving us numbers based on square feet, but if you've built this before, you don't have to estimate. You already know that. So the two questions for the gentleman in the back: where does this fit into the development plan for the county and the economic plan? And for the ladies in the front of the room, I would like to know where this exists somewhere else, and what are those numbers that you already know about. And I'll give you one more example just so you can reference. And I remember this from years ago because I've been here my whole life. There's a Walmart distribution center right up the road here in Louisa County. They came here in this same room, and we had this same conversation with them, and they said the same things. We could. It's a square foot. But the one thing that stuck to me out of that meeting was there's only going to be a couple of hundred trucks a day coming out of that distribution center. They lied. First of all, they lied because right after they built it, the county had to re-engineer the entire intersection because it was a couple of thousand trucks a day. That distribution center existed in other places, and they already knew that. But they didn't bring that to anyone's attention. They said it could be. So those are my two questions. How does this fit the plan, the economic and development plan for the county? You, sir, in the back of the room. And you ladies, after he's done, if you could explain where this exists somewhere else and give us some actual factual data, what is the impact on the county, roads, water? You already know this. And if you don't, then the county needs to shut this down. Because if you can't answer that question, how is the county going to approve it? I don't understand. Please answer the questions. Thank you.
All right, can everybody hear me, or do I need to come up? Can you all hear me? Okay. All right. All right. So this is probably a good point at 5:32 because we are going to have to move out at 5:55 for the Water Authority. So those of you who did not get here at the very beginning, reminder, this is a neighborhood meeting. It's an informal Q&A between the applicant and the individuals that are joining or anybody who'd like to come. So that's why you're not seeing Planning Commission or Board of Supervisors members up here, is because that is the next stage of the process. After your neighborhood meeting, there could be another neighborhood meeting. Or it could be that the Planning Commission does not feel that the application is complete, and so therefore it does not go forward. But you will have an opportunity to speak directly to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors as this process continues to move forward. And if you'd like to talk to them now, please meet with me after the meeting. I'm happy to get you contact information. So that was one of your questions. The second question you had was about economic development. We have an economic development director, Andy Wade. Please meet with me after the meeting. I can get you his contact information, and he'd be the person to direct that question to. Again, our role as Community Development Department staff is to set up this meeting, collect all the information, and distill it down to a staff report for the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors. I'm up there taking furious notes of everything that's being said so that I can put that in the staff report, try to make a good summary of that. I will probably come back down here like around 5:50, but please remember, I will be here after the meeting. I'll probably either be, depending on how many people are here, either outside of the building answering questions, or if there's enough people, I'll try to stay within and try to get you any information that I can. I appreciate how professional everybody is being. I'd like to keep that up in the next 20 minutes that we have left, so I don't have to come up here and remind everybody. I'll go ahead and turn it back over to the citizens. The reason why we're here is we want to hear from you, so let's keep it going. Thank you.
Has anyone not spoken?
I want to answer the second part of this question. Yep.
Yes.
So going on to the second half of the questions, we're not trying to dodge any questions here. The reason we don't have any hard and fast numbers is because of the stage that we're in. This is not a site plan. So yes, you're correct. If you went to the county with a site plan saying, I want to build my house, no, you could not say, it might be 1 story, it might be 2 stories. That's not where we are. We're in a concept stage in the stage that's called entitlements. So this is not a site plan. This is not anything that's hard and fast right now. It's in its more fluid state. We're just trying to build the parameters of the rules that we could develop in. And so when we come back with a site plan, let's say that everything's approved, we can come back with a site plan. Of course, we'll have all of the final engineering, but we're not there yet. We're committed to working with you all to make sure that the parameters are set in a way that you're comfortable. But it's difficult right now to give hard and fast numbers. We can give estimates. I know that's frustrating right now, but if we're permitted to move forward in this process, we will give you those numbers.
So can I ask a follow-up question? So what I just heard you say is right now you're in the development stage with the county. So what you're saying is
the development.
I'm sorry. You're in the
Yeah.
planning stage where
That's
you
right.
are looking to see what it is the county will allow you to build. So with that being said, everything you have on that TV probably isn't going to happen. It'll be bigger than that.
So this is the parameters. So we would have to be beholden to this concept plan. So we're going to have the outside boundaries that we can develop in. We won't be able to go outside of those boundaries, or else we'd have to come right back here again.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Leslie Herholzer, and I'm a property owner out by Blue Ridge Shores. We have a small farm out that way. And, my question is, why has Louisa County been chosen to be part of the Silicon Valley of the East? Because that's the big plan here. We know it's coming, progress is coming. We don't want it. Most of the people I know don't want it, except for the wealthy people in this county who are in control, the business people, who serve to profit and line their pockets with a lot of money. Okay? So, number two, traffic. There's a lot of data that's going to be pumped into these data centers. It's coming from all over the world, including China. Why are we housing data from all over the world using our water, polluting our, creating the noise level, and also the EMRs, the electromagnetic radiation that's going to come off of all this stuff. We're all going to get cancer. Our kids are going to get sick. Our water is going to be messed up. Our farmers are stressed out about it. We don't want this. I mean, you could just go back and tell Amazon absolutely, unconditionally, no, we don't want it. We tell them the board listening. I had Amazon approach me at my home. I had Summit IG come talk about cables coming through the property. They offered me a contract. Then they came back 2 or 3 times saying, name your price, name your price. I don't want money. I don't need your money. We don't need this in Louisa County. Just like Orange doesn't want it, Madison doesn't want it, Greene doesn't want it. But a lot of surrounding counties don't want it. We don't want it because it's not going to help us. You talk about jobs, you talk about all kinds of profits, all kinds of opportunities for Louisa. It's not for Louisa County. It's for the people that run Louisa County. They have meetings and we're not even invited, or we don't even know about it. We can't even vote. That's how, Lake Anna got started with the nuclear power plant. Nobody knew that was happening. I mean, I've been living here for a long time. So, why is Amazon, my big question, going around throwing money at landowners saying we want to bring these cables through and we'll give you name your price, and they offer a contract. And some of the landowners are taking these contracts to the lawyer because they want to get more money. Well, I don't want your money. We don't need your money. So Amazon, you're multi-billionaires. You might as well just go back to where you came from.
Yeah, how you doing? My name's Jeff Roper. I live on Poplar Avenue. And I've got a couple questions. One is, that is the only egress into that area that you haven't used. Why is that? Because of the mines? Well, let me finish first. But the mine on that road, I was coming down the road from Richmond listening to this on my phone, and about the mines have been looked at and everything else. I live on Poplar where those mines are on the north and south side. And I have yet to see anybody out there marking, flagging, looking. And some of those mines you can't find unless somebody shows you where they're at. But more importantly, my property is border with that buffer zone, the northeastern substation, and I'm about 1,200 to 1,300 feet away from it. And I know the decibel things have been brought up, and if it gets too loud, we'll call the sheriff's department. I don't think that's going to happen, but I guess I'll end with this so somebody else can talk. The Purcells do own that, and I think Purcell's here now, that was going to be solar. Solar doesn't make noise. It's your property. Do what you want to with it. But you have so many people. I don't want to sit on my porch and listen to a vacuum cleaner. You know, and I know that I'm close. I know other people are close as well. But how about the Purcells? How much do you love the county? Go back to solar and don't even talk about noise pollution. But why do you? Well, we don't want it, but it's his property. We can't stop that. But solar was pushed to the side. So now we have Amazon. Yeah. So about Poplar, why didn't y'all use that? Or was that the alternate that you were just talking about near the school? Because the school put solar up against my property too without telling me. And now my son's not going to build a house there because he's looking at solar panels. Yeah. But anyway, I think that the whole thing, really, you can ask Purcells how much they love the county.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else that hasn't spoken like to speak? Okay, I just want to get everyone that hasn't spoken yet.
I'm Dennis Parrish. I'm representing a property on Kennan Road that's basically facing what you have is the approximate limits of disturbance and a substation. I know for a fact that that area right behind the house and the property that I'm talking about has been deforested. So when you're saying that you have a 300-foot vegetation buffer, and you were saying earlier and showed two very nice pictures of the other roads of mature vegetation, the mature vegetation is now this tall along that border, and with a substation and another unit sitting that close to Kennan Road, it's going to be like a megaphone coming up through that bottom without any kind of buffer that's 25, 30, or as tall as a building.
Yeah, if there isn't a buffer, like mature trees there, they will be planted. And a lot.
Yeah,
and
I
no,
understand
hold on,
that.
Please. I know. It doesn't quite compare. But when we're talking about a project that spans many years, a lot of times what we'll do, we'll go in there and we'll plant first, even if we're not getting to that area for years later.
So you're talking about you're not going to put a building or a substation there for 20 years?
No, I did not say that. I was just saying that a lot of times we will try to get out ahead of that and plant so they have time to grow.
They're already 4 foot tall now, so they've got to start now. But you have to wait 20 years to get the mature vegetation that you're talking about. That's the only thing I'm worried about is the screening part. The screening and the noise, because like I said, that section that you have, and I wish that that section had been left alone because it is extremely close to a lot of houses on Kennan Road. Extremely close. You answered that question. I haven't finished yet. I had two questions. You've already talked multiple times, so let me go. You've talked. Okay. So the other question, and I'll preface this by I work for a company that builds data centers. I build data centers, but none of them around here so far. So I know what it takes to do what you're talking about, all that stuff. So. My concern, I feel for you getting up in front of us at this point. There's a couple of comments in here about the conditional use permit about, and I'll read this from here, accessory uses in the technology overlay district TOD to allow for water treatment plant, public or private, sewage treatment plant, public or private. So there's going to be an elevated water storage tank, which I've installed those as well. And I know what they entail. I know there's nothing about it. This has to be a underground sewage treatment or if this can be an above-ground aerated sewage treatment. There's no indication of where that might be in this plan eventually. If you do an above-ground, I guarantee you will have complaints about odors because the prevailing wind takes it straight to mineral from that site. I know about prevailing winds too, so. So that's the questions, like I said, this kind of leaves it open-ended and it gives you a little bit of a carte blanche of you can do this, but there's no real description of what the limits to that is. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I can
She hasn't
I can
spoken
work
yet.
to get to you
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
information because I don't
Fine.
know if it's above ground or below.
Hi, thank you for being here. I'm Vicki Hart. I'm the acting mayor of Louisa, the town of Louisa. We were not invited to this because we're not the surrounding property owners. However, Northeast Creek Reservoir is our water supply. And once it's gone, we have no water. We have had mandatory water restrictions, which apparently don't apply to commercial uses. It only applies to residents. So with the James River Water Authority, us not seeing a drop of water yet, and that permit being for an average of 4 million gallons per day, if this is approved, the 3 data centers will essentially take at least half of that. The Northeast Creek Reservoir is the sole water source, and it is otherwise called raw water. We are the supply that was given to Lake Anna. We were the supply that was given to the other data center, and you're right above Northeast Creek, and I'm sure your raw water is coming right from the Northeast Creek Reservoir. So essentially what you're doing is you are potentially harming our ability to have our water for all the residents and the businesses in the town of Louisa. We have been in a drought. Our farmers have been eligible for drought relief assistance for the last couple of years. So rainwater harvesting for the past couple of years would not be of much benefit to you. We don't have a well. That's it. And the runoff from the construction worries me as to how that's going to affect it because the stormwater retention ponds are great, but they're not working during construction. And we have seen enough damage from water runoff from construction activities around here. So my concern is the water resources for the town of Louisa and not having a drop of water from the James River project yet, and our permit being 4 million gallons per day on average for that when it ever does get here. And I understand that you may say, and I'm not meaning you personally, may say that, it's a half an inch a day. Well, a half an inch a day, why are we having water restrictions? That's it. Thank you.
Obviously, I can't answer the question about the water restriction. Your point about these stormwater management ponds, typically, a lot of, not always, but a lot of situations, and specifically here, the temporary basins would eventually become the permanent. So even if like these don't end up being where the permanent locations, there would be temporary stormwater basins like during construction to add an extra level of protection to the reservoir.
And then I'm sure you already heard during the presentation, we are going to be partnering with a third-party consultant to hold us to stricter standards than what would normally be required by the VEDP. So that is a continued concern that we're aware of and we're going to be very sensitive to.
I'm not sure where it came from.
So we would, or one of our consultants would hire them, but it would be an independent third party. Yeah,
Sir, she hasn't
we are held to their standards. In a lot of situations, the design works on paper let's face it, the stormwater design may work on paper, but when you actually get out there, it may not work the way the way it's designed to do. So that this third party a lot of times will see that and make us install additional measures.
How's the third party independent if Amazon's paying?
We don't. They're totally separate entity.
Do I just start?
We have a question in the back.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Davis. I've been in Louisa all my life, and I am close to this. I have family very close to this. What I've learned from this, first off, I forgot to start, thank the Louisa County residents for coming to show up. I appreciate that y'all are being thanked, but I appreciate us coming out and telling you all, and I hope you all hear loud and clear, we don't want you. We didn't want the first one. We didn't want the second one. Sure as crap don't want the third one. Now, I have not heard anything. I don't know where exactly everybody lives, but I don't think there's a single board member that's going to live at this back door. And I don't think they would allow it to vote. So I hope the board is listening. I hope the Planning Commission is listening. I hope you all are listening. Don't want you here. Don't want the traffic. Don't want the noise. I live on a farm. I love looking at the stars. I love the peace and quiet. I love the darkness. I love hearing the nature. I won't hear it with you all here. I can't hear it with the first one, nor the second one, nor the third one. So I'm telling you, I don't want you here. I haven't heard anybody in this room except for, well, he didn't speak yet, that wants you here. Is anybody here want them here? I haven't heard it. So please go back and take it somewhere else, because you're not welcome in Louisa.
Thank you.
My name's Tom Varanish. I live over off Kentucky Springs. Has there been done, or will there be done, any kind of engineering site analysis regarding the substructure, what's underneath it, what gravel might need to be brought in? Because I know the Lake Anna site, halfway through the start of construction and digging, all of a sudden we had to have 75,000 tons of gravel hauled up and down Kentucky Springs Road every day. And also you made a statement about the data centers being built on grade. Again, looking at the Lake Anna site, there's an awful lot of digging in the ground, deep in the ground, that's being done on that site. What's going to be different with this site as far as the substructure underneath it?
So the data centers are built on they don't have a basement, pretty much. There are other uses on site that may go below grade. They're not nearly as large as the data center buildings. You also asked about the gravel. Yeah, I can't speak to you're talking about the Lake Anna campus, yeah. I mean, obviously, gravel is needed for construction, so.
Has there been an analysis done to find out is it available on this site, or is it going to have to be trucked in across half?
Oh, the geotech, yeah. Okay, yeah, the geotech, yeah. There will be hundreds of, I mean, if this goes through, there'll be hundreds of borings, yeah, done for geotech. And obviously, it's a hilly site. There's a lot of earth moving. In addition to, there's going to be haul off and there's going to be import. So that's what constitutes a lot of the construction traffic. But it's in any developer's best interest to balance a site as much as possible. That means you're hauling off and importing as little as possible.
Hi, my name is Karen Whitlock. We live in the Patrick Henry District on the west end of the county, and we were one of those homeowners who received a letter from our electric co-op saying it's going to go up $15 a month for our usage. And when I posed the question to the board chairman of the electric co-op. His answer was sort of vague, but it was basically because of industry coming back to the U.S. shores, kicking up, and then the data centers and electrification. So I asked him, why would somebody in another co-op area separate from these data centers have to be paying $15 extra now, and he didn't have an answer, which is very frustrating. And I do give you ladies some credit, because I think the frustration that's coming is because we didn't get a chance to do all this for the first two. So this, a lot of questions, a lot of frustration. And here's my question. I was wondering how aware AWS is of the pushback, because when I became concerned about this, I did some very fundamental searching, and I could not find anything that came up with communities data centers. It was more of elected officials, tax revenue, and then the citizens were pushing back. I'm a little worried about that, but are you aware? So we talk about Northern Virginia. There's a group up there called Protect Prince William County, the Sierra Club, National Parks Conservation Association. There's a group called Data Center Watch, which is tracking data center opposition. I talked to somebody in Tucker County, West Virginia. The same thing's happening to them. It's not in Georgia and PA. So my question is, what can we as citizens do? It's kind of off of this one lady's question. We do not want any more than what we've got. We do not want the third data center. So what can we do to express that at your company's level?
I think this is the first start. So, and I know we've been taking a lot of flack up here, but we've also been taking a lot of notes. And I started out this conversation saying it really does have to work for both of us, right? So we want to hear your concerns. I may not have all the answers, and I don't remember everyone's name, but please come up to me afterwards, and I promise you I will get you the information you're looking for.
Remember, guys, Jesus didn't move mountains, so keep this in your prayers.
So I want to thank everybody for coming out. I really do appreciate it. Please stay in touch with the county and the community development department to determine if there'll be another neighborhood meeting, when the application would be found to complete to move on to the planning commission or board of supervisors stage. So please keep in touch with us. Again, I'm going to ask everybody to move on out, because we got to give the room to Louisa County Water Authority, and I will be outside to answer any questions that I can, as long as it need to be here. Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate it. I'll be out in a minute. I'm gonna usher everybody on out so we can give the room. I do have cards, so I'm gonna push everybody out. All right. Let me push everybody out, and I'll go out.
Y'all come break it up, like. Yes, please.